The Cosmic Council aboard the sleek, disc-like ship known as the Quantary Ascendant hovered silently above the blue-green world known as Earth. Its metallic hull shimmered under the light of the planet's sun, its advanced cloaking shields rendering it invisible to the inhabitants below. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. High Commander Vrexal 7 clicked his mandibles nervously, his multifaceted eyes shifting toward the glowing holoscreen. The Earthlings had sent an envoy, and it was heading directly for their location. This species, began First Observer Zogthal, his voice a symphony of clicks and guttural tones, is unlike anything we have cataloged. Their technology is primitive, their communication erratic, and their dietary habits alarming. Explain, snapped Varexal, his tendrils twitching in irritation. They consume vast quantities of solidified bovine secretions and then toast their bread with fire. Zogthal replied, clearly unsettled. The council murmured in unified confusion. Vrexal raised a tendril, silencing them. Enough. We must focus. We allowed this emissary to approach. We will determine if they are worth including in the Galactic Accord. The human ship, a clunky amalgamation of metal panels and exposed wires, wobbled into the docking bay of the Quantary Ascendant. Steam hissed as the gangway extended. From the cloud of mist emerged a man wearing an ill-fitting suit, clutching a bizarre contraption that beeped and whirred intermittently. "Hello," the human bellowed, with an enthusiasm that startled the gathered aliens. "Name's Doug. Ambassador Doug, at your service. Brought you a little something from Earth." He held up the strange device as though it were a sacred relic. The aliens recoiled instinctively. "What is that?" hissed Zogthal, activating his scanner. The device emitted a series of nonsensical readings. "It's a coffee machine," Doug declared proudly. "Figured you might like a taste of humanity's finest. Makes lattes, espressos, cappuccinos, you name it." The council exchanged wary glances. Vrexal, recovering first, leaned forward. "Ambassador Doug, does this coffee device have destructive capabilities?" Doug burst into laughter. "Oh, not unless you count caffeine overdoses. Speaking of which, you folks like cream and sugar." The aliens observed as Doug enthusiastically set up the coffee machine. He explained its workings in excruciating detail, most of which sounded utterly nonsensical to the council. "So you've got your water reservoir here, your filter basket there, and presto, liquid magic," Doug proclaimed, pressing buttons with the gusto of a man unveiling a groundbreaking invention. The machine whirred and sputtered. Then, with a loud hiss, it expelled a stream of dark liquid. The aliens leaped back as if it had fired a weapon. "What? What is this substance?" Zogthal asked, his tentacles quivering. "Coffee," Doug said with a grin. "Go on, give it a try." A brave, or perhaps foolhardy, alien stepped forward, taking a cautious sip. Its eyes widened as it began to vibrate at a barely perceptible frequency. This is extraordinary," it exclaimed, its voice uncharacteristically high-pitched. Doug beamed. "Told you, now imagine that with a donut." The council's jubilation was short-lived. The coffee machine, in a moment of apparent betrayal, began to smoke. Alarms blared throughout the chamber. "It's malfunctioning," Zogthal screamed, diving behind a console. No, it's just heating up," Doug shouted over the chaos, waving his arms. "Relax, it's not gonna explode." "Deactivate it before it obliterates us all," Vrexal commanded. Doug pressed a few buttons, but this only seemed to exacerbate the situation. A loud pop echoed through the chamber, followed by a geyser of frothy milk. Alien dignitaries scattered, slipping on the rapidly spreading liquid. "Oops," Doug muttered, scratching his head. "Might have used the wrong setting." Once the chaos subsided, the council reconvened, many of them damp and visibly frazzled. Despite the debacle, one thing was clear. Humans were unlike any species they had ever encountered. They turned a simple beverage ritual into a weaponized farce, Zogthal murmured, still clutching a towel. Imagine what they could do with actual technology. Or worse, Vrexall added, his tone grim. Improvisation. Doug, oblivious to the weight of the discussion, took a sip of his own coffee. Well, this was fun. Same time tomorrow? As Doug left the chamber, whistling an off-key tune, the council stared after him in silence. Finally, Vrexall spoke. Begin contingency planning, he said darkly. We must prepare for the possibility that these humans are the galaxy's greatest threat. The Quantari Ascendant hung ominously in orbit over Earth, its cloaking shields shimmering faintly. Inside, the Council of Alien Dignitaries buzzed with activity, analyzing their recent encounter with the human emissary, Doug. But things had taken an unexpected turn. The humans had responded to alien diplomatic overtures in their usual peculiar fashion, with a hastily assembled exploratory team sent into orbit aboard a ramshackle spacecraft. Within hours of their arrival, the aliens, unsure of what else to do, detained the humans under the pretense of studying their species. The 5 human captives were herded into a sterile containment chamber lined with pulsing, glowing panels. Alien guards stood at attention, their weaponry aimed at the prisoners. Despite the tense situation, the humans seemed alarmingly unfazed. All right, I'll say it. One of the humans, a stocky man named Gary, muttered, inspecting the room. This place has real IKEA vibes. Focus, Gary, snapped Amanda, the team's leader. Her dark hair was tied back in a no-nonsense ponytail, though her stern expression faltered when she caught sight of one of the alien guards. Okay, maybe don't make eye contact. They look squishy. From the observation deck, Vrexall and Zogthal watched the humans with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. What are they doing? Zogthal asked, tilting his bulbous head. Vrexall zoomed in on the display. They appear to be debating amongst themselves. About what? I am uncertain, but one of them is gesturing aggressively toward jam. Indeed, the humans had begun an impassioned discussion about the proper way to prepare scones. Gary insisted that the jam must go first, followed by cream, while Amanda vehemently argued for the reverse. The other 3 team members had taken sides, escalating the debate into a near-shouting match. This is their strategy, Zogthal whispered in horror. Internal discord to confuse and disorient us. While the aliens attempted to decipher the humans' puzzling behavior, Amanda reached into her utility pack and retrieved an assortment of seemingly random items. A spoon, a small roll of duct tape, and a handheld karaoke microphone. What are you doing? Gary asked, his argument momentarily forgotten. Improvising, Amanda replied, prying open a panel on the wall. If there's one thing humans are good at, it's turning nonsense into brilliance. Gary frowned. Pretty sure it's just nonsense, actually. Amanda ignored him, attaching the microphone to the spoon using the duct tape. The result was a bizarre contraption that hummed faintly when activated. With a triumphant grin, she aimed it at the glowing wall panel and pressed a button. The panel fizzled and went dark. The humans quickly realized they couldn't sneak out without being spotted by the guards. That's when Gary had a sudden, ridiculous idea. Give me the jam, he whispered urgently. What? Why? Amanda hissed. Just trust me. Reluctantly, Amanda handed him a jar of strawberry jam she had smuggled aboard. Gary opened it and approached the guards with exaggerated confidence. Hey, squid dudes, he began, holding up the jar. This here is a delicacy on our planet. We call it battle jelly. Very dangerous. One wrong move and boom, instant combustion. The guards hesitated, their eye stalks swiveling toward the jar. Gary jiggled it threateningly. Want a demonstration? The guards exchanged nervous glances, then stepped aside, allowing the humans to slip past unchallenged. Back on the observation deck, Vrexal and Zogthal replayed the footage in stunned silence. The humans' escape defied all logic. Not only had they bypassed advanced security systems with primitive tools, but they had also convinced trained guards to stand down using fruit preserves. "Commander," Zogthal began, his voice trembling, "what if their entire species operates this way? Their unpredictability is terrifying." Vrexal nodded grimly. "We must reassess our strategies. If they can weaponize jam, there is no limit to their capabilities." As the humans navigated the alien corridors, Amanda glanced over her shoulder at the now empty containment chamber. "All right," she said, adjusting her improvised device. "Next stop, the mothership's control room. Let's see how they handle karaoke." The alien mothership, the Quantari Ascendant, was a masterpiece of intergalactic engineering, a floating fortress of gleaming alloys and pulsing energy conduits. Deep within its labyrinthine corridors, a grand chamber hummed with anticipation. Delegates from dozens of alien species gathered in a semicircular amphitheater, their holographic displays glowing softly as they awaited the arrival of the humans. The Quantari Council had deemed it necessary to host an intergalactic summit to address the chaos caused by Earth species. After the incident with Battle Jelly and the humans' baffling escape, the galaxy's elite had demanded answers. A faint rumble reverberated through the chamber as the human shuttle docked. The delegates leaned forward, their eye stalks, tendrils, or antennae quivering in anticipation. Moments later, the humans entered, led by Amanda, with Gary, Doug, and the rest of their team close behind. Each carried an assortment of odd items, some essential, others bafflingly mundane. Amanda stepped to the center of the chamber and waved cheerfully. "Hey everyone, thanks for having us." The amphitheater fell silent. High Commander Vrexal 7 stepped forward, his imposing frame towering over the humans. "Ambassador Amanda," he began, his tone formal, "you stand before the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Your actions have caused great confusion and concern. Explain yourselves." Amanda nodded, her expression serious. "Understood. To help with communication, we brought along this." She held up a sleek device with blinking lights. "Behold, the Universal Translator." The aliens murmured in approval. Universal translators were a hallmark of advanced civilizations, bridging the linguistic divide between species. Vrexal gestured for her to proceed. Doug stepped forward to activate the device. "All right, let's fire this baby up." He flipped a switch. The device emitted a low hum, followed by a cheerful voice that declared, "Translator initializing." Language selected, rock and roll English. At first, the translation seemed promising. When Amanda said, "We come in peace," the device faithfully rendered her words into a melodic alien dialect. But as the conversation continued, the translator began to falter. When Gary tried to introduce himself, the translator inexplicably replied, "You shook me all night long." The assembled aliens recoiled. "Is this a threat?" one delegate whispered nervously. No," Gary stammered. "It's just a glitch. Let me try again." This time the device blared, "Livin' on a prayer," in a triumphant crescendo. The chamber descended into chaos as the delegates debated whether the humans were peace ambassadors or the heralds of galactic doom. The situation worsened when the translator began quoting nonsensical human idioms. When Amanda attempted to clarify their intentions, the device interjected, "When life gives you lemons, make lemonade." "What are lemons?" an alien demanded, his eye stalks trembling. "And what is lemonade?" added another. Doug scrambled to fix the device, but his efforts only introduced a new layer of chaos. The translator shifted to a new mode, broadcasting snippets of Earth's pop culture. Quotes from sitcoms, infomercials, and even weather reports echoed through the chamber. leaving the aliens utterly baffled. Is this some kind of psychological warfare? Vrexall muttered, gripping the edges of his console. Just as the situation seemed irreparable, Amanda had an idea. She snatched the translator from Doug and activated its karaoke mode. The device projected a glowing microphone into the air and queued up an intergalactic karaoke playlist. "What are you doing?" Doug hissed. "Improvising," Amanda replied with a grin. She grabbed the microphone and addressed the assembly. "Ladies, gentlemen, and sentient entities of all kinds, let's settle this like humans do." With a sing-off, the delegates were initially bewildered, but curiosity soon won out. One by one, they stepped forward to participate. Vrexall reluctantly joined in, his deep, resonant voice harmonizing awkwardly with Amanda's rendition of "We Will Rock You." What began as a diplomatic crisis evolved into an interstellar karaoke party. Delegates took turns performing, their translations blending Earth's lyrics with their own cultural styles. The once divided assembly bonded over the shared absurdity of the moment. By the end of the event, the humans were no longer seen as chaotic threats, but as a species capable of turning disaster into unity. As the karaoke session wound down, Amanda approached Vrexall, who was nursing a glowing beverage. "So, how'd we do?" Vrexall regarded her with a mixture of admiration and exasperation. "You humans are impossible to predict. I don't know whether to fear you or invite you to every summit." Amanda smirked. "Why not both?" The Galactic Assembly Hall was a marvel of alien engineering, a vast crystalline structure suspended in zero gravity. Its walls shimmered with cascading lights that represented the energy signatures of every known civilization. Delegates from across the galaxy filled the amphitheater, their chatter a chaotic symphony of alien languages. At the center of the chamber, a large holographic display projected a rotating image of Earth. Humanity's application for membership in the Galactic Accord had reached its climax. The question at hand was simple. Should humans be allowed to join the most advanced coalition in the galaxy, or should they be classified as a universal anomaly and contained? High Commander Vrexall 7 stood at the podium, his imposing figure bathed in the glow of the hologram. His multifaceted eyes scanned the audience before he began his opening statement. "Esteemed delegates," he intoned, "we convene today to decide the fate of Earth's dominant species, Homo sapiens. Their arrival in our galactic sphere has been disruptive, to say the least." He gestured toward the humans seated on a floating platform at the center of the chamber. Amanda, Doug, Gary, and their team sat in a row, sipping coffee from travel mugs they had inexplicably brought with them. Amanda gave a cheerful wave. "They have demonstrated behaviors that defy our understanding of logic, strategy, and diplomacy," Vrexall continued. "I submit the following exhibits for your consideration." A holographic replay of Doug's initial encounter with the Alien Council appeared, complete with the chaotic malfunction of the coffee machine and the geyser of frothy milk. The delegates murmured as they watched the footage. "Observe," Vrexall said, pausing the recording at the exact moment Doug gave a thumbs up. Their emissary offered us a device that appeared to be a weapon, but was, in fact, a means of producing a mildly addictive beverage. "It's called hospitality," Doug shouted from the platform, earning a sharp elbow from Amanda. Next, the hologram displayed the humans' escape from containment, highlighting Gary's use of strawberry jam to intimidate the guards. The delegates erupted in bewildered chatter. "This is their ingenuity at work," Vrexall said, his tone heavy with sarcasm. "They utilized a culinary substance as a tool of psychological warfare. How can we trust a species that weaponizes breakfast condiments?" Gary leaned toward Amanda. "See? I told you jam was the right call." The final exhibit was perhaps the most polarizing. The footage showed the Galactic Assembly's previous session devolving into a galaxy-wide karaoke party, with delegates belting out Earth songs translated into their native languages. The room fell silent as the last notes of "We Will Rock You" echoed through the chamber. "This," Vrexall said gravely, "is how they diffused a diplomatic crisis, through music." One delegate, a bioluminescent being from the Zyron Collective, raised a tendril. To be fair, that was quite enjoyable. Amanda rose from her seat, clearing her throat. "If I may address the assembly." Vrexall nodded reluctantly, and Amanda floated to the center of the chamber, the translator device in hand. "Look, I know we're not perfect. Sure, we turn coffee machines into chaos and jam into weapons, but you have to admit, we're creative." She gestured to the hologram of Earth. "We've survived on that little planet by figuring things out on the fly. We don't always make sense, but that's kind of our thing. Chaos is just another word for opportunity." Doug leaned into the microphone. "Plus, we brought donuts." A smaller holographic screen appeared, showing a tray of colorful pastries spinning in zero gravity. The delegates seemed genuinely intrigued. After hours of deliberation, during which the humans played an impromptu game of charades to pass the time, the council reconvened. Vrexall returned to the podium, his tendrils twitching with suppressed emotion. "After much debate, the Galactic Assembly has reached a decision," he announced. "Humanity will be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Accord." The humans erupted in cheers. Amanda pumped her fist triumphantly, while Gary fist-bumped an alien guard who looked thoroughly confused. Vrexall raised a tendril for silence. "However, this membership comes with a condition. You will be monitored closely. Any further acts of chaos, and we reserve the right to revoke your status." Amanda saluted with a grin. "Understood. We'll try to keep the karaoke to a minimum." As the humans prepared to leave, Amanda turned to Vrexall. "By the way, before we go, we've got one last idea. A little thank you gift for the galaxy." Vrexall eyed her warily. "What kind of gift?" Amanda grinned and tapped a small device on her wrist. A hologram appeared, showcasing a sprawling network of delivery drones crisscrossing the stars. Each one carried a piping hot pizza in its cargo hold. "We call it Galactic Pizza Delivery," Amanda explained. "Guaranteed fresh to any quadrant in 30 minutes or less. We've already started setting it up." The delegates' reactions were immediate. A tentacled delegate from the Mercs Consortium fainted on the spot, while another whispered, "What is pizza?" with a mix of awe and terror. At that moment, a delivery drone zoomed into the chamber, narrowly avoiding Vrexall's head. It swerved wildly before depositing a pizza box onto a delegate's floating platform. The lid popped open, revealing a steaming pepperoni pie. The delegate poked it cautiously. "It's beautiful." Another drone zipped by, colliding with a light fixture before spiraling out of control. Vrexall rubbed his temples, muttering under his breath, "This is what I get for tolerating humans." As the human ship departed, Amanda watched with satisfaction as the first fleet of glowing delivery drones spread across the galaxy. They wove through nebulae, dodged meteors, and descended onto alien worlds, each carrying the promise of cheesy, chaotic goodness. Gary leaned back in his seat, munching on a slice of pizza. "Think they'll like the pizza idea?" Amanda smirked, her eyes glinting with mischief. "In 30 minutes or less, the galaxy will know chaos, and they'll love it."